Water covers 70% of our planet, and it is easy to think that it will always be plentiful. However, fresh water, the stuff we drink, bathe in, irrigate our farm fields with, is incredibly rare. Only 3% of the world's water is fresh water, and 2/3 of that is tucked away in frozen glaciers or otherwise unavailable for our use. As a result, some 1.1 billion people worldwide lack access to water, and a total of 2.7 billion find water scarce for at least 1 month of the year. Inadequate sanitation is also a problem for 2.4 billion people. They are exposed to diseases such as cholera and typhoid fever and other water-borne illnesses. 2 million people, mostly children, die each year from diarrheal diseases alone. Now, many of the water systems that keep ecosystems thriving and find a growing human population have become very stressed. Rivers, lakes, and aquifers are drying up or becoming too polluted to use. More than half the world's wetlands have disappeared. Agricultural consumes more than any other source and wastes much of that through inefficiencies. Climate change is altering patterns of weather and water around the world, causing shortages and droughts in some areas and floods in others. At the current consumption rate, this situation will only get worse. By the year 2025, 2/3 of the world's population may face water shortages, and ecosystems around the world will suffer even more. The human population has successfully harnessed many of the world's natural waterways, building dams, water wells, vast irrigation systems, and other structures that have allowed civilizations to grow and thrive. But water systems are increasingly stressed, and some rivers, lakes, and aquifers are drying up. So what are the major things threatening our current fresh water supply system? Well, number one is climate change. As humans continue to pump more carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, patterns of weather and water will change around the world. Droughts will become more common in some places, floods in others. Glaciers and snowpacks will disappear in some areas, affecting the fresh water supplies to those downstream communities. These changes will combine to make less water available for agriculture, energy generation, cities, and ecosystems around the world. The other big issue is water pollution, which comes from many sources including pesticides and fertilizers that wash away from farms, untreated human wastewater, and industrial waste. Even groundwater is not safe from pollution, as many pollutants can leach into underground aquifers. Some effects are immediate, as when harmful bacteria from human waste contaminate water and make it unfit to drink or swim in. In other instances, such as toxic substances from industrial processes, it may take years to build up in the environment and food chain before their effects are fully recognized and understood. The third thing causing a water shortage is agricultural waste. It uses up to 70% of the world's accessible fresh water, but some 60% of this is wasted due to leaky irrigation systems. Inefficient application methods, as well as the cultivation of crops that are too thirsty for the environment in which they are grown, is a major factor. Now, this wasteful use of water is drying out rivers, lakes, and underground aquifers. Many countries that produce large amounts of food, including India, China, Australia, Spain, and the United States, have reached or are close to reaching their water resource limits. Added to these thirsty crops are the fact that agriculture also generates considerable freshwater pollution, both through fertilizers as well as pesticides, all of which affect both humans and other species. The fourth thing is in the last 50 years alone, the human population has more than doubled. This rapid growth with its accompanying economic development and industrialization has transformed water ecosystems around the world and resulted in a massive loss of biodiversity. Today, 41% of the world's population lives in river basins that are under water stress. Concern about freshwater availability grows as freshwater use continues at unsustainable levels. Furthermore, these new faces also need food, shelter, and clothing, thus resulting in additional pressure on freshwater through the production of commodities and energy. And the fifth, but certainly not the least important, is companies monopolizing fresh water. And this is not a new issue. It's actually been happening for a while now, only it's not always making headlines. Financial institutions like JP Morgan and the Carlyle Group are buying up water companies, and the already large water corporations like Aqua America Inc. and American Water are collaborating to expand their stronghold in key markets. All of these private entities are positioning themselves to heartily profit from the commodification of water. For example, back in September 2010, JP Morgan purchased Southwest Water, a large national water company. Just before the holidays, the Carlyle Group announced its plans to purchase the Park Water Company, which owns water systems in California and Missoula, Montana. Around the same time, Aqua America Inc. started making arrangements to purchase water operations in Texas from American Water Works Company Inc., while also selling the Missouri operations to American Water. What does all this purchasing and positioning mean? Well, here we have major investment firms realizing the profit potential from getting into the water business as available water resources dwindle and as cities become more desperate to give up control of their systems in exchange for much needed cash. Simultaneously, the two largest US-based water companies are working together to kill competition in key markets. While scrambling to stay financially afloat at a time when most states and cities are experiencing record budget shortfalls, many cities have considered selling their municipal water systems to private entities like Aqua America or American Water. But communities seeking to sell their water systems there also shouldn't expect to get a good deal, since the goal of these private water companies is to maximize profits while limiting consumer choice along with it. Aqua America, for example, focuses their resources on expanding in markets with fast growing populations and corporate-friendly regulators. It targets smaller systems, often ones that are in disrepair, and makes several acquisitions each year. In 2010 alone, it took over 23 systems. Some of these systems are known as tuck-ins, or smaller systems that it can incorporate into larger systems and buy. After taking over systems, large investor-owned water utilities aggressively pursue rate increases. The typical household sees their water bill increase by an average of about 10% each year following privatization. That's not surprising. The company's priority is their own bottom line. Many private utilities, they sell bulk water, which is a wholesale amount of water to nearby municipal water systems that don't have sufficient water supplies. And by increasing rates, private companies can effectively force these communities to sell their water systems. This was a factor in American Water's expansion in Missouri. Since these acquisitions are done very piecemeal, it's easy to miss the big picture. But since 1991 alone, at least 144 local governments have privatized their water systems. Now, it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. Back in 2008, when Goldman Sachs tried to acquire the water system in the Reno-Sparks area, the directors of the Truckee Meadows Water Authority saw the writing on the wall and voted it down. But these transactions tend to happen quickly and behind closed doors. It takes communities who pay close attention to their city council meetings to stop the corporate takeover of public water systems and fend off what could become tap water monopolies. One thing is quite evident. There are certainly more foxes around the henhouse, and they are becoming quite sly. If you got to the end, we hope you found the video informative and entertaining. If so, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos, and we very look forward to seeing you again in a bit. Take care.